Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving headfirst into the shadowy side of human interaction. Our guide for this journey is a pretty fascinating and, let's be honest, controversial book, Dark Psychology Secrets and Manipulation Techniques by Barren Broen.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You've been in a situation where you felt kind of pushed into a decision you weren't sure about. Or, on the flip side, maybe you've really struggled to get your point across. It definitely makes you wonder, what are the hidden forces at play when we talk to each other?
And that is the exact question this book tries to answer. So let's get right into it. We're going to unpack the source material and see what it has to say about manipulation, persuasion, and, that darker side of human nature.
All right, so first things first. Before we go any further, we really need to get a handle on what the author even means by dark psychology. What is it really? Now, this is what I find really interesting about how the book frames it. We're not talking about just pure evil here. No, the author's argument is that this is a side of us, a trait that's present in pretty much every culture across all of humanity. It's like this inherent, not-so-nice part of us that's just there.
Okay, so if we all have this dark side, how does it actually show up? Well, the book points to a very specific group of personality traits that are often tied to these kinds of manipulative behaviors.
And at the heart of the book's analysis are three core personality traits. In psychology, they're known collectively as the dark triad.
So first on the list is Machiavellianism. The book basically describes this as someone who is laser-focused on their own interests. They see deceit and manipulation as just tools in the toolbox, things to use to get what they want, and morality doesn't really enter the equation.
Next up, number 2 in the triad is narcissism. And the book links this all the way back to that old Greek myth of Narcissus, the guy who fell in love with his own reflection. The idea here is that this personality type might seem incredibly confident on the outside, but it's often just a mask hiding a really fragile ego.
And then we get to the third, and honestly the most chilling part of the triad, psychopathy. This one is defined by a complete lack of empathy, no remorse, and this trait really completes the picture that the book paints as the foundation for this kind of manipulative behavior.
Okay, so if that's the mindset of a manipulator, what's in their toolkit? What are the actual methods they use? The book really dives deep into one powerful and pretty controversial methodology for influence called neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP for short.
So what's the big idea behind NLP, according to this book? It's basically this. It's a way to understand how our minds process information, and then how we can use language to influence not only our own behaviors, but the behaviors of other people too.
And the name itself tells you a lot. It breaks down into 3 pieces. You've got neuro, which is all about how our brain experiences the world through our 5 senses. Then there's linguistic, which is the language we stick on top of that experience to give it meaning. And finally, programming. And this is the key part. It's the idea that our behaviors and reactions are just patterns, and those patterns can actually be changed, intentionally.
This really gets to the heart of how NLP works, at least as the book describes it. One of the biggest ideas is that the meaning of what you say isn't about your intention. It's all about the response you get from the other person. So think about that. If what you're doing isn't working, the responsibility is on you to be flexible and change your approach until you get the result you're after.
The author has this great analogy for this. They say, look, if you don't communicate clearly with your own unconscious mind, it's like going to a restaurant, ordering a perfect juicy steak, and the kitchen sends out a plate of liver stew. There was a breakdown, right? Something got lost in translation between what your conscious mind wanted and what your unconscious mind actually did.
All right, that's enough theory for now. Let's get into the practical stuff. How do these ideas actually get applied in the real world? The book lays out a bunch of specific, pretty subtle techniques for influencing people.
Okay, first up is a persuasion technique the book calls downsizing. And I can almost guarantee you've had this one used on you, or you've at least seen it happen. It's such a classic move. You create this huge contrast. You start with a big, maybe even an unreasonable request. When that gets shot down, the smaller, real request you had all along suddenly seems so much more manageable, so much easier to say yes to. The pressure just melts away.
All right, next up is a technique that sounds almost too simple, but the book argues it's incredibly powerful. And it's just this, using someone's first name when you talk to them.
I know, it sounds basic, right? But the psychology behind it is actually pretty deep. The book says that when you use someone's name, it's a kind of flattery. It validates them, makes them feel seen and heard. And when someone feels recognized like that, they're naturally going to be more open to whatever you have to say next.
And for our last technique, let's talk about something nonverbal. The book points out the subtle but really effective power of just nodding your head while someone else is talking.
So what's going on here? The psychology is all about something called mirroring. You're physically creating this visual of, yes, I agree, I'm with you. And by doing that, you're kind of conditioning the other person to feel more agreeable. The hope is that when it's your turn to talk, they'll just keep that yes pattern going.
Okay, so we've gone through all these powerful, maybe even kind of unsettling ideas. Which brings us to the big question. Why learn this stuff? What's the point? And the book is super clear on this. The goal is not to become a manipulator. The goal is to be able to spot one. It's all about self-defense.
And what's your best weapon in this? According to the book, it's your own intuition, your gut feeling. The argument is that our brains are processing so much more information than we're consciously aware of. Body language, tone of voice, all those little cues. That gut feeling is basically your unconscious mind screaming, "Hey, pay attention, something's not right here."
Which really leaves us with one last big question. This knowledge, it's a tool, right? And according to the book, the real power here isn't in learning how to manipulate people. It's in learning how to not be manipulated. It's about being able to see the strings so you can decide for yourself if you want to let them be pulled. And that choice, in the end, is all yours.